Hi guys, this time we're on location reading this week. So sometimes when I'm having to wait for someone, like my niece when I go pick her up from school, I'm sat in my car and I think, what can I do with myself if I've got there too soon? I like to have a book out. So we're going to carry on with The Boy Who Could Do What He Liked. And we have just finished end of part 1. So we're looking at the interlude today, okay? And then we're also looking at the chapter on Time Stop as well. Okay, so as I'm sure you know, there's a lot of talk in our business about doing things differently, what people call out-of-the-box ideas. But really, with management consultancy, it's all about sticking to what you know. Frankly, there is a box, and we've got to put the right things into it before we start thinking about everything outside of the box that might be also put into the box. Yes, thank you, Julian. We have to know what's meant to be in the box before we stuff from outside the box into the box that's not supposed to be in there. Stephen's boss, Trevor McCade, we could just call him Trevor, but he's one of those people who always demands to have his surname used. They've been talking like this about boxes and ideas while emphasising certain words seemingly at random for a while. Stephen and Jenny were in a circle of people standing around him in his very grand living room under his very grand chandelier. Everyone was holding champagne glasses and nodding, really nodding. Suddenly, though, Jenny stopped nodding. Sorry, Trevor? She wanted to say Trevor McCade, but she managed just to keep it to Trevor. But surely the whole point of thinking outside the box is the stuff you think of that's outside the box. Well, it never goes into the box. There was a short silence during which Trevor McCade adjusted his tie, fiddled with his glasses and his suit buttons, and frowned at Jenny. The elegant woman sat next to him, Julian, whispered, Stephen Moore's wife, sir, into his ear. Stephen glared at Jenny. Jenny mouthed, What? What do you mean? Said Trevor McCade. Never goes in the box. Well, outside the box means, outside the box. So the expression refers to the ideas and thoughts that are so unusual that we basically have to throw the box away. Jenny laughed nervously as she said this. No one else joined in. Trevor McCade stared at her like she was mad for about a minute, but it felt much longer, and then started talking about something else. At which point, Stephen made a furious head gesture to Jenny to meet him in Trevor McNade's very grand hallway. What? Said Jenny out loud this time. Come on, darling, you know why we're here, said Stephen, looking over his shoulder at the dining room where the guests were starting to sit down for dinner. To agree with everything Trevor McNade says? Well, yes, basically. Jenny sighed. OK, I'm sorry, let's get it over with. Do you want me to call the babysitter and check everything's all right before we begin? Stephen nodded and took out his phone. Then suddenly, down Trevor McNade's long and obviously very grand staircase came a young boy wearing a suit, tie and glasses. A suit, tie and glasses very similar to, but a little smaller than Trevor McCade's. Would you please get out of my way, said the boy. Sorry, said Stephen, moving aside. Ridiculous, you people cluttering up the hallway. My father specifically asked me to join his guests in the dining room at 6:49 p.m. as we sit down to eat. Sorry, said Stephen again. Well, just remember that my starter isn't getting any warmer. Sorry, said Jenny. The boy sniffed as if to say, don't do it again, and moved through the main room to join the dinner party. Jenny and Stephen heard the words, Oh, Cyril, and how good of you to join us. And 1 minute late, though, aren't you? From inside. Cyril seems nice, said Jenny. No, he doesn't, said Stephen. I was being sarcastic. Oh. What he really seems like, said Jenny after a short pause, looking meaningfully at Stephen, is a boy whose father has taught him there is only one way to think, his way. Stephen stared at her, and then he turned his attention to the dining room where the guests were all seated. Cyril and Trevor McNade were sitting together, smiling smugly as everyone told them how marvellous they both were. Stephen put his phone away. Shall we get out of here? He said to his wife. Interesting. Part 2. Time Stop. 6:49 p.m. That's odd, thought Alfie, looking at his watches, both showing the time at 6:49 p.m. It should have frightened him, but actually it calmed him down. Alfie was so convinced that his watches worked and couldn't possibly both fail at the same time that the more likely explanation was that time had just stopped in some way, which was good news at the moment as it meant he was no longer getting further and further out of step with his routines. It occurred to him, in fact, as he had frozen in place with his arms still raised, that if time had stopped, he might be stuck, unable to move, which would get very uncomfortable. But actually, he unfroze his arms and got down from the kitchen table easily. He wasn't quite sure how best to handle the current situation, but he knew whatever weirdness was going on was something to do with him saying he could do exactly what he liked. Not just saying it, but shouting it. And he knew when he'd said it, he'd meant it, in a different way to the way Mrs. Stokes had been saying it. She had meant, yes, dear, just do whatever. I want to watch TV. But Alfie, in his anger and frustration, had meant, okay, I will do what I like, exactly what I like, just watch me. But when he shouted it, what he had liked the idea of, what, in other words, he wanted to happen, was indeed for time to stop. And that's what had happened. So maybe. So, guys, did Alfie cause the time to stop? We will see. Okay, back to class. Bye.